So it's plotted against the CPI. Okay. Then we also see sanctions against officials. So WJP, World Justice Project, also measures whether government officials in the executive, in the legislature or judiciary or the police are investigated and prosecuted and punished for official misconduct. Now, if you take the police, for example, even though we all pushed for the IPCMC, but there was a lot of pushback and ended up with IPCC, so I think today the problem is still not solved. Okay? We still have custodial death, we still have misconduct, a lot of misconduct and so on in the police force and so on. So this is where Malaysia stands. Alright, so the y-axis is actually about measuring government officials who are sanctioned for misconduct. So we are just midway. So you can see a correlation. If you have institutional reforms and you have judicial independence, you sanction against corrupt officials, you also can see a shift happening on the CPI as well, CPI scores. The third one is absence of discrimination. This one measures whether individuals are free from discrimination, whether it is gender or religion or race or whatever it is. So that's where Malaysia stands. Okay? So this is just to share with you. Now, what are the possible reasons for the reform? This is what you all are waiting. You know the score has moved up 3 points. And the possible reasons for this is number one, demonstration of MACC and the AG's chambers to charge high-profile politicians. Bear in mind, this didn't actually happen in 2023, it happened before that. Okay? So that's why I say this CPI, there is a lag time. What actually happened, everything in 2023 may not reflect here. So you don't see that here, maybe you'll see it next year. Okay, so the charging of 2 former prime ministers for corruption case. So that gives a very positive perception. Second thing is the demonstration of the judiciary's independence by the conviction of a former prime minister on the SRC case. Alright, now the third one is the democratic representation and participation and power transition. In another survey by the Economic Intelligence Unit, Malaysia rose to the rank of 40th and they scored 7.3 out of 10 in 2022. And next point is, despite political instability, there is higher voter participation in elections. And this is because of the Undi 18. A lot of the 18-year-olds suddenly have come to start voting. And the last is smooth transition. Many countries, we don't have this luxury. But I think we are blessed in Malaysia, despite political changes, new governments coming in G14, G15, the transition of power has been very smooth. So that demonstrates that democracy is still alive in Malaysia. So these are the possible reasons. Now, we have recommendations, and these recommendations are quite similar to the previous years, that what you have seen. And so I will just skim through. Institutional reforms. The last 4 governments have failed to table the political financing bill. I'm aware that almost all political parties don't want this, simply because they don't want people to know who is funding them. Okay, so there's a lot of pushback, and that is why we, civil society and the public themselves, we have to push for it. The reform IPCC, now I call it IPCC because IPCC bill has been passed, but as we know, it's not strong enough. And we want the government to really look at the IPCC bill again and give it more teeth. Okay? And so on. So we would like to see government do that. In fact, the IPCMC, which was proposed, not today, 2005, I remember, the Tun Zaidin report. You know, after so many custodial deaths, the government formed a Royal Commission of Inquiry and they came up with IPCMC. But there was a lot of pushback from the police force themselves, including KDN, and we didn't get anywhere. MACC reforms. Since 2015, we have been talking about reforms. Nothing has happened. And these reforms are good. We want to make MACC more independent. For example, the selection of the MACC Chief Commissioner is by the Prime Minister. He recommends to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, who appoints the MACC chief. What we are saying is, take the Prime Minister off the equation and let a parliamentary special select committee do the selection. You know? And also the tenure of office. In our Prime Minister's case, PMX, he didn't do any change. But you saw in the previous two Prime Ministers, the moment they came in, they changed the MACC chief. So we want the MACC chief to be not worried about his position and his tenure of office. It's a fixed tenure, like the judiciary, where you have to form a tribunal to actually remove the judge. So we need to strengthen MACC. Of course, with that we have other things as well. They have their own funding and so on. Number 4, for TI, this is very dear to our heart. In fact, my colleague Mike and myself, we were very much involved in the amendments of the Whistleblower Protection Act. We have a Whistleblower Protection Act, 2010, but full of flaws and gaps. So a lot of engagement we have been doing, but unfortunately after Sheraton move, we couldn't get anywhere. And we were supposed to, this was what I was told, in the last October Parliament sitting, we were supposed to table the changes and so on. For some reason, somebody put a spanner in the whole problem and it was withdrawn the last minute. Okay, so we are not there yet. So you can see, what about government procurement bill? In the Pakatan Harapan's time, the former Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng, he said we are going to table this. What year was it? 4 years ago. Nothing happened. Okay, we hope by 2024 they will table it. The last point, separation of power between Attorney General and Public Prosecutor. This is another big issue. We'll talk more about this in a while. Okay. Political will. The government needs to have the political will to fight institutional corruption. We have to say it again and we repeat again. Stop appointing politicians to head government-linked agencies. It's not GLCs. In the past we had a lot of politicians in GLCs, but we are saying here government-linked agencies. The last figure I got was something like 61 people from the various coalition political parties are appointed in government-linked agencies. We need greater transparency. If something goes wrong, be very transparent about it. The LCS issue, you all know, I don't have to repeat, 9 billion project today has ballooned to 11 billion. Not a single ship has come, okay? But that's not all. The question we're asking is, why did it happen? The idea is not to punish people. The idea is, why did it happen so that we can prevent it from happening in the future? I don't think the government has been transparent about this. Until today, we do know exactly who was responsible to make the changes and so on. Lack of action against public officials who abuse their power or abuse their positions. Reform our public administration. Improve governance in public administration. The Chief Secretary to the Government, or KSN we call it, has to be responsible to deliver the new NACS. For those who don't know, National Anti-Corruption Strategy. Okay. Instead of NACP, now become NACS. They are drafting and going to be announced very soon. This, we repeated this, I think the 4th year we are repeating. The KSN must play his part to take leadership on this. For those who don't know, KSN is the Chief Secretary of the Government. He is the highest person in the civil service. If he puts in his KPI that all these NACS strategy all must be implemented, automatically every government agencies and ministries will fall in place. So the problem with the NACP, we only finished, I think 67% the last time we had a workshop. We were informed. It was a 5-year plan from 2019 to 2023. 2023 is finished. At the end of December 2023, only 67 was completed. Then also we don't know how many was effective and how many not effective. So the other part was not done. Why? Because there was no champion. And that's why we are saying the KSN should be the champion for this. Alright? Adopt International Standard for Integrity Pact. Many of you will be familiar with this word Integrity Pact. Integrity Pact means the actual definition of TI or Integrity Pact, you need an independent oversight. We don't have that. What we did, this is not the current government, this is during Najib's time and even before that. They adopted Integrity Pact, but it's just a two-party. That means the bidders and the procurement authority, they sign some documents and papers after papers, just to say, I will not give bribes, I will not pay bribes, I will not do this, I will not do that, and so on. So we are saying that it's not possible for every project for independent oversight. How many resources you need? We are saying mega projects, maybe in the range of 1 billion US and above. That means 4 billion and 4.5 billion above. You have independent oversight. That means independent people overlook this project. If only the government had listened, the LCS issue wouldn't have happened. Because independent oversight will shoot all the red flags before something goes wrong. So this is something that we want the government to look at it. Mandate the large mega projects that require parliamentary approval before commencing the project. Do some advanced planning, especially big projects, and do a cost-benefit analysis. Don't forget, at the end, who is funding all this? Taxpayers. So if you do a project and it's a white elephant, end up we will be paying for it for years and years to come. Okay, so summary, I won't go through all. This is, you can see a long list of legislative reforms that we need to do. Lower Election Offence Act, Political Financing Act, Procurement Act, Ombudsman Bill, another long overdue, as a declaration and so on. And MACC, as I already said, we need to help MACC. This is not to make it difficult for MACC. We want to help MACC to be stronger. Cut them off from the executive, all right, so that they can charge or they can investigate freely. Now, these are the important part of today's discussion. The Prime Minister's vision. He said he wants to see Malaysia to be top 25 in the CPI global rank by 2033. Okay, but this is a vision, right? Some of you are from the private sector, you know. Your boss will give you the vision or the mission, but you have to turn into a strategy. You need to have a strategy, and after the strategy, you need a tactical plan. How are you going to execute it? So far we don't see that. That is our challenge here. So, in moving forward, we need to be fair. Okay. So I broke into three parts: the positives, the shortcomings, and the worrying trends. So let's look at the positive. So the Prime Minister recently gave a directive of what we call the National Code of Governance Enhanced Movement. In Malay it's called Gerakan Pemantapan Tata Kelola Malaysia. So there's a document. If you go to the website, you can see this. Alright? So that's something positive. I mean, we never had a Prime Minister who spoke very clearly on this, with a clear agenda that in the public administration he wants to see good governance. Okay, that's good. And the current investigation that's going on high-profile politicians on undisclosed wealth, we welcome that. But at the same time, we also hope that such kind of investigation is done fairly and so on. Even if they are in the government, they should be investigated. Okay. And then, of course, the setting of the target. I think that is very good, but then now comes to the implementation. So these are the positives. But don't forget that the current government, they only passed through slightly a year plus. So a lot of the good effort they put have to be seen in years to come. Now, some of the shortcomings. Okay, the shortcomings, number one, continued lack of good governance practices. Remember I said political appointees in the government-linked agencies. We have to fix this. Don't tell me in Malaysia by 2024 we don't have professionals. There's so many of us here, highly qualified, very competent. So why do you need politicians? If you want to be in these agencies, number one, don't take a salary. Or number two, leave it to the professional. You focus on your job. Now, the second point, lack of transparency to justify mega projects. Remember just now I said mega projects, you need independent oversight, you need proper planning. You cannot rush through projects. These are billions of dollars, billions of ringgit involved. And I give you two examples. Now we're talking about MRT3. We have MRT1, MRT2, MRT3. Even MRT1, if you go back to the statistics and the old records, the ridership in MRT1 that was projected and what is actual is not the same. It's much, much lower. Okay? HSR, or the high-speed railway, you know about this, right? Kuala Lumpur to Johor. Project was cancelled, and then now they want to revive the project. Okay. In 2019, it was given a figure of 72 billion when they want to do this project. Okay, and the project was cancelled. 72 billion, that's a lot of money. Probably the development budget of the country for the whole year. And then, now they want to revive the project. The figure is 100 billion ringgit. 100 billion. Alright? Initially, they said this project is going to be fully private sector. Government is not going to be involved. But if you read the latest news, now they have shifted it to PPP. PPP means public-private partnership. Now, we all know in this PPP project, especially mega projects, the risk is mostly taken by the government. The profits of whatever you're going to get, the private sector will take it. The risk is mostly borne by the government. Project delays, government's problem. Cost overrun, government's problem. Okay, so they are very concerned because end of the day, when there is cost overrun, government have to bail them out or pump in additional money, just like the LCS, taxpayers' money. And just to give you some quick run, based on the EU figures, to put a high-speed railway is about 25 million per kilometer. The World Bank's figure is 21 kilometer per kilometer run. If you base on those figures, what it should cost us to make the high-speed railway to Singapore is only 42 billion. Supposed to be only 42 billion. But here we are given a figure of 100 billion. So there's a big gap, you know. There is 60 over billion gap, you know. So, big amount. So we are urging the government, this has not started. Be prudent. Be careful. You know, don't jump and do things because the next generation will have to pay for it. Next, extremely slow progress on governance-related legislative reforms. As I said, political financing bill. It has been 14 years now since DI first started this project. We published a book on political financing in Malaysia. Independence of MACC, I already mentioned just now. Separation of power between the AG and the public prosecutor. If you read the media recently, in one of the law conference or some meeting, I think in January, when the year started, media I think asked the AG, why was there a DNAA for one senior politician? And his response was, under Article 145(3) of the Federal Constitution, the AG, in this case the public prosecutor, is under no obligation to reveal why he withdrew a case or why he charged somebody. Do we blame the AG? No. If you put another AG tomorrow, he will say the same thing. Why? Because they are protected under the Constitution. So the ball is on whose feet? It's the government. You have to fix it. This has become a perception problem. When that DNAA issue came up, people who never knew what is DNAA started finding out what is DNAA. Even the makcik in the selling goreng pisang in the roadside, you know, the auntie who sells the goreng pisang. If you ask her, oh, we have a corruption problem because of the DNAA, she knows. Okay, so I think it's a perception problem. We need to manage that carefully. And that particular case, you can check the records. What date was it? What date the DNA was given? September 4th. September 4th last year, the DNA was given. Was it captured in our score? Most likely not. Remember I said just now, we wrap up around August, right? So very likely, because so many people are giving feedback, we don't know who has captured, who has not captured. But very likely, you saw the curve like that. My biggest worry is next year it may take a dip because this was not captured. Look, very likely. Okay, so don't be too happy that we went up by 3 points. That's the point I'm trying to emphasize here. Yang 3 mata yang naik itu is not necessarily this thing has been captured. So this thing will surface in 2024. So unless the government accelerates and reforms and does a lot of programs, I don't think you will see that. Comes Auditor General's report. I don't have to explain, you can read it. Every year alarming adverse comments. Leakages, project not completed, project delays, and so on. And this is where we want the Chief Secretary to the government to take firm action against officers who fail in their fiduciary duties. Even if you are a civil servant, if a politician puts pressure on you, you are a professional, you have what we call fiduciary duty. I think a lot of them don't understand this. When you have fiduciary duty, you should stand up and say, no sir, I don't think we should do this because of this. These are the consequences. I'm not going to sign the document. You are a civil servant. Stand up against these politicians who want to put pressure on you and bulldoze their way through. So we hope this is something that you can look at. Now the worrying trends. Remember the Prime Minister given a vision, right? Good. But where is the strategy? Where is the tactical plan? Where is the milestone? I mean, all of us can give. In 10 years, I want to be there. I want to grow market share and so on. We hear this from the private sector very often. But they have a clear plan. What I must do? You need resources. You need to bring in more people. Do you need a different group of people to look at this specifically on this and so on? So we don't have that. So how? Remember I showed Uzbekistan. They went up 15 points in 10 years. We want to go 18 points in it. Can you do? I am saying you can. But you've got to work for it. And that's why we are telling the government, please, good vision, but where is your plan? Where is your strategy? Where is your tactical plan? You don't have that. Tell us what you want to do, okay? Only so far in the 1MDB case, we all know this, right? Only one person charged. What about the enablers, those who had the duty to speak up, especially the civil servants? When these things happen, don't tell me the civil servant didn't know about it, okay? So the Civil Service Code is very clear. You have to report transgression and abuse of power. And I talked about DNAA just now. The DNAA decision for the Deputy Prime Minister is worrying. And the Attorney General's statement that the public prosecutor is not bound to furnish any reason when exercising his prosecutorial discretion. And that's because he's defended by Article 1453. And we have now a lot of investigation going on undisclosed wealth by politicians, which is good, fine. But what about those in the current government? Those who have read the Pandora Papers, I can tell you at least there are 3 names of people who are in the current government. Investigate them. Whether you charge or not, that's a separate thing. But I think to be fair, they should also be called up and say that, please explain why your name is here. Okay? So because no one is above the law, that's why they're saying that. So the nexus between politicians, business and patronage continues to be a grey area, and this is a problem. And this explains why political financing bill, we cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel, okay? Because of this grey area. All right, so I think with that, I just want to end that this vision that the Prime Minister has put. I will leave this question to you, and that's why I just leave it a question mark. Can we achieve this vision of 2033 by 2023? That needs to be the top 25. So, especially Malaysians here, I think you should think about it, and those in the civil service, enforcement, and all that. I think we all have a collective responsibility. The Prime Minister has given a vision, but I don't think he can do everything himself. Civil servants, NGOs like us, we all have to play a part. So when the NACS, for example, when it's coming up, we have to take it very seriously, and so on. As I said, any vision that you put, you want to see the results, you've got to work for it. You need to have a strategy, you need to have a tactical plan. If you have that, believe me, you can. And that's why I bring up again Uzbekistan. Countries like that, if they can hit 15 points, why cannot we hit 10? Tapi kena kerja lah, kena berusaha. This has to be collective. Not that we think, oh, this PM may not be here after so long, maybe after 5 years he's gone, and next fellow will come, and then don't worry. If we think like that, I think we won't be there. Alright? So I think with that, I I want to end this thing, and I'll be very happy to answer questions. Mike is here, and please feel free to come up and raise questions. Thank you. Questions, please. Yes.
Hello, Doctor. My name is Chris from Singapore. Cuma nak tahu, melihat pada skor 5 ke 50 Malaysia, adakah perlu apa lagi langkah yang boleh kerajaan lakukan? Adakah perlu melaksanakan kerjasama dengan pihak-pihak tertentu ataupun macam mana?
I'll answer in Malay and then I'll translate. Okay, pertama, skor yang dia naik 3 mata tu, seperti yang saya kata tadi, because dia dalam survey ini dibuat dalam masa 2 tahun, okay? So, apa yang sebenarnya punca kenaikan ialah kepercayaan kepada sistem penghakiman di negara ini dan juga kepada pihak berkuasa seperti SPRM. Alright, so they contributed to this because of the previous case. Don't forget, yang SRC case tu concluded in 2022, ya, 2022. Okay, so itu yang sebab dia. Tapi macam saya kata tadi, yang contoh DNA ni, it's a very serious issue, especially the DNA case. You all remember, the court concluded that the prosecution established a prima facie case. In other words, the case is, the guy has to defend himself. Instead of, of course, I don't dispute or challenge what the PP is deciding, public prosecutor, but what I'm saying, the perception of public is that, why didn't you let the case go on and let the court, mahkamah decide? Instead of mahkamah buat keputusan, the AG intervene, and so on. How does it look like? Dia seolah-olah ada penglibatan kerajaan atau ada tangan gaib dalam sistem itu yang menyebabkan keputusan dibuat. Jadi apa yang perlu ialah, itu sebab pengasingan kuasa di antara pengguam negara dengan pendakwa raya dengan AG itu perlu diasingkan for this. That's why the separation of power is important. We understand, kita faham, the cost is very high. 1 minute they say 300 million, next minute I hear 700 million. But whatever it is, the government must make an effort to change it, because the AG too, he is an advisor to the government and the cabinet and even the king. The public prosecutor is working in the interest of the public. If you combine the two things, like for example, if you have a cabinet member who is involved in some corruption, it becomes very tricky to charge the person. You see? So itu yang satu lah, yang because your question was what else to be done. Okay, that's one of them. The other thing is yang undang-undang yang sedia ada, so contohnya Whistleblower Protection Act. We have asked the consultant, gave inputs to make the amendment, tapi sampai hari ini belum. Dan akta-akta lain lah, ombudsman bill, political financing bill, asset declaration, banyak lagi yang belum buat. Jadi perubahan institusi, institutional reform must be pushed by the government. Supposed to be done in 2019, but then government changed, nothing happened. Then in between you had two governments, they were very busy, thinking when the next change will happen and so on. So now what we are saying is to the Madani government, capitalize on what you have. You have a majority in parliament. Kalau you don't capitalize this opportunity, it's a wasted opportunity. Next round you will tell, the same like Tun Mahathir said in 2020, and we released the 20, that time the figure went up, you see? 2020 January was 2019 figure, chart to 9. So we praise the government, keep up the good work and all that. The response from him is, yes, I can't promise you because we don't have a majority in parliament. That was the excuse they gave. Harini, you have majority in parliament, please use it. This window of opportunity, I can tell you, is only short. I think you all can assess yourself. Stability and this window is only gone the days when PN was ruling in the 80s and 90s. You go for election or you don't go for election, more or less you know the output. What will happen? Today it's not like that. People have voice, they can change you anytime. Okay? So, peluang yang ada tu, majority yang kerajaan pegang itu perlu digunakan supaya perubahan atau reformasi institusi ini diteruskan. Jadi itu yang kerajaan kena buat. Lagi satu saya nak tambah berkenaan dengan wawasan Perdana Menteri nak jadi top 25 dalam tempoh 10 tahun. In 10 years he wants to be top 25. Where is the plan? Dia tak ada plan, no milestone. 2 years down the road, another story. You know, cukuplah, we have heard of this enough. So we don't like to see, kita tidak mau tengok a chart like the graph that I showed you, a yo-yo kind of chart, you know, that, you know, the one I was showing you. This one. Goes up, we feel nice, we feel good, then comes down again. You know? So the 3 points that went up, okay, at least we have hope. What we are saying is, please don't be complacent. Don't be too happy that my 3 points gone up. What will happen next year? So we've got to do a lot of work. Alright? Boleh tak? Okay, yeah? Sorry, I asked too many. Yes, sir.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, Doctor. My name is Dr. Abdullah Mohamad from University Science Malaysia. I have one question on CPI is about public perceptions here. So, what is your suggestions to media, for example? Do they do a nice job to report all the corruption cases every day, or do we have suggestion for that? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, you see, some people have this idea that the more media reports on corruption cases, the worse our results will be. That means all people will know that. But I tend to think the other way around. That, like in Singapore, okay, rarely you hear cases of Singapore. But lately we hear cases, one is somebody, MPs having an affair in the office, another one was a transport minister having tickets for Formula 1 and so on. These are things rarely happens in Singapore, but they report it. Okay, whether the score will go down or not, we have to see. But I believe that when you are transparent, you are very open, you make a full disclosure. Yes, it's a mistake happened, but we learn from it. My personal experience, even in the private sector, when something goes wrong, be upfront about it and say that sorry, we made a mistake, but these are the things you are going to put in place. So I think for Malaysian government, if you become more transparent, allow the media to report. After all, they are not doing something wrong. I mean, if they report something which is fake, then I think the affected person can sue them, you know, for defamation or whatever it is. But otherwise, I think the media should report as it is and be more transparent. And I think if you see today, the media is much more braver to report compared to what it was several years ago. You know, even though the Sedition Act is there, you know, other laws are there, you know, so media also need to be very careful. But I think the media should be very open and continue to report corruption. Because it doesn't mean that when you report more corruption case, your score will go down. Don't be afraid of that. Let it be bad and let's fix the problem. I mean, that's one concept I've learned over the years. When something is wrong, be upfront. Tell the truth. Don't go and hide. Because when you start hiding, like one NDB case, you all know, right? Every time you say deny, everybody said, no, there's no such one on NDB. What on NDB? There's no case. But eventually we all knew what was happening. So I think, I don't know whether I did answer you. Okay, Prof. Okay. All right, please.
Okay. Okay, my name is Astro from Malaysian Anti-Corruption Organization, or PACA. I have two questions. Regarding the legislative reform, I think the problem is now in our country is the lawmaker. They are not really serious. As you mentioned about the political financing bill, it was discussed during NKRA corruption, during Idris Jara, and during Polo also. They already formed a committee on that. But the response from both political parties, the ruling and opposition party, as you said, they just don't want it to happen or to have that kind of law. Secondly, on the audit report, Auditor General report yearly, year in, year out, we have the same problem. I think it's a high time for the government to have the misconduct in public office, whereby all those involved in this scheme making, whether the minister, the public servant, can be liable under the law. As Brunei also, they have section 12B of the ACA Act, and also Hong Kong Criminal Procedure Code section, if I'm not mistaken, section 101. They have the law on misconduct in public office, whereby that law can overcome the problem of auditor report. That's the same problem as LCS and other government projects. So I think it's high time for the government to have that kind of law in ECE.
Thank you, Dato. I fully agree with him. Number one, we have problems with the lawmakers themselves, both sides. I mean, I can tell you this, we have talked to this side, and through our coalition with Rasuah Buster, we have engaged with them, and we see that, I think we have to continuously put pressure for this to happen, number one. And the second point that Dato has made is what we call MIPO, misconduct in public office, to be put as a provision in the MACC Act itself. Okay? Rather than creating a new act, make a provision in the MACC Act. What this act provision will do is, when you have like these big projects and so on, civil servants are also held liable. I mean, you were part of approving this project, please explain. That's why I talk about fiduciary duties. It's not only the private sector you hear private fiduciary duty, even civil servants you have fiduciary duties. These are public money, all right? So I agree with Dato' that we should push for this to be put in the act. Okay, any other questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm Amanda from BFM. So, a billionaire's recent comment accusing the independent institutions such as MACC, AG's chambers, even the Inland Revenue Board as being used as a political tool by the administrative government. Do you think his comment will be painting a negative public perception on this, and what does TI have to say about it? Thank you.
Well, as usual, when people are charged, especially high-profile cases, when they are charged, naturally they have to say something to defend themselves. Okay, so always, MACC will be if it's a corruption-related case, then they will say, MACC is being used as a tool, or the government of the day is trying to utilize that. I think you will have your opportunity to say in the court, okay, during the court proceeding, argue your case and defend yourself. As I said earlier, what we see until today, we have fairly, I would say, an independent judiciary system, and I think the courts will be fair. And we had a lot of cases where the government or the MACC has charged, MACC has lost the case even in the very beginning. Like there was a forfeiture, the 1MDB case, a lot of people were charged, for forfeiture, and the court threw out the whole case. So I think we have to have trust in our system, and I believe that comments are very expected. From anyone who gets charged, the first thing they will put the blame on MACC or the government and say that it's a selective prosecution and so on. This again relates back to separation of power between the AG and the public prosecutor. You need to fix that problem. That's why fundamental institutional reforms must happen. And this is why we are trying to urge the government please, you don't have the luxury of time. This window, 3 to 4 years only you have with your super majority or majority you have. If you waste it, it's gone. Then the next excuse will be we don't have majority, we cannot get it passed, and just go on. There is hope, but you have to make use of it. So the ball is on the feet of the government. That's the message I want to drive today. That you have this curve going up, there is hope, but don't be too happy. It can go down. So please do work, and we are here to help you. There's civil society, we are not alone. There's so many of us in what we call in our coalition. We have C4 here, we have ideas, we have and many others in our Rasuah Buster group. We are there, and we are volunteers. Sometimes we give our time, our sweat to help the government, but it's for you to take it up. Did I answer your question? Thanks. Yes, we have.
Pushpan from C4 Center in Corporate Corruption. Just a quick statement. I just got a message. Apparently, it's a news from Putusan. There's another that's in Parliament. So I suspect our score will definitely be going down the next semester. So we're going to share some thoughts on that. I'm not really disappointed. But I mean, to be fair, they're saying they're going for office next month.
I'm lost of words. Okay, anyway, let's see. So I think I should better not comment anything. Okay, I won't say anything because then it becomes a very emotional, personal statement. I don't want to do that. Let's leave it like that. Okay, maybe that we'll keep it for another day to discuss. Okay, so thanks for updating us. I didn't have a chance to get it. Yes.
Saya Normi daripada Rasuah Masters. Kita ada untuk makluman contoh yang lain. Rasuah Masters sekarang ni baru berusia 3 tahun. Bersama kita ada 580 NGOs yang lain. Kita adalah gerakan rakyat daripada bawah yang memang berjuang untuk Malaysia tanpa rasuah dan dengan mission ingin meninggalkan negara ini kepada anak cucu kita dengan negara yang lebih harmoni dan adil sama. Okey. Dalam 3 tahun kita bergerak, Rasuah Masters turut dilantik sebagai Sekretariat Kumpulan Atas Parti Parlimen. Tahun ini masuk tahun penggal kedua, insyaAllah. Dan di KIPPM adalah untuk berjuang untuk institutional reform. Okay. Dan apa yang kita buat selama ni, dan kita dah pergi ke banyak segmen termasuk pelajar sekolah, peringkat tadika sampailah kepada pemerintah. Pada pendapat doktor, apa lagi yang Rasuah Buster perlu buat untuk mencapai target top 25 yang seperti yang PFX sasarkan?
Okay. Usaha yang dibuat macam Puan kata tadi, pergi ke tadika, pergi ke peringkat bawah, jumpa dia orang, kempen dan sebagainya, impact dia akan diketahui dalam masa jangka panjang. Okay, it's a new generation. Tapi usaha-usaha yang dibuat oleh kita Rasuah Buster untuk contoh memberi latihan pada penjawat awam contoh dan sebagainya, ini amat penting because kita berada dalam satu sistem di mana dalam juga penjawat awam mereka dah biasa. And slogan yang selalu saya dengar, saya ikut perintah, I follow orders. So of course you politicians are there and you follow orders, but you've got to follow orders which are correct orders. Jadi apa yang kita perlu supaya program-program yang Rasuah Buster buat ini diteruskan dan diharap di sektor awam, terutama sekali penjawat awam dan sebagainya, bekerjasama dengan Rasuah Buster supaya program-program ini dapat di-spread ke semua jabatan-jabatan dan di semua kementerian dan sebagainya supaya perubahan ini berlaku. tahun 2019 masa NACP ini mula dirancangkan, waktu itu diwajibkan semua di kementerian untuk dapat pensijilan ISO 37001, which is the ABMS certification. But now I think it is no longer compulsory. Dia bukan compulsory lagi. Jadi contohnya macam ni lah, when kita nak buat sesuatu tapi tidak ada momentum. Okay? Jadi apa yang saya boleh cadangkan ialah teruskan lah. Ini satu inisiatif yang bagus supaya di kalangan penjawat awam selalu ada, because jangan lupa kita ada penjawat awam baru masuk, ada yang bersara, lepas tu batch baru masuk. Jadi penting sangat di peringkat awal mereka diberi pengajaran integrity, good governance dan sebagainya, perlu diserapkan pada pemikiran mereka dari awal. Betul, ramai yang datang masuk kerja dalam penjawat awam pun dari graduate juga, tahun 1, dia raw. Jadi kita kena educate. Jadi itu tempat yang baik sekali lah. Walaupun ada yang saya difahamkan di institusi pengajian tinggi dia ada program, tapi bagus juga inisiatif yang dibuat oleh Rasulullah itu diteruskan di kalangan penjawat awam. Okay, alright. Any other questions? No? Alright. If there are no other questions, I would like to thank all of you for this, for being here patiently to listen to the results. And in closing, I just want to appeal to all of you that we all have to play our role, wherever you are. If you're in the private sector, you're an NGO, or if you're in the government, civil servants, or Badan Berkanun, or wherever you are, you play your part. The little that you do will help the country. All right? So with that, I just want to thank you once again, and hope to see you next year. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.